Buckeye Talk back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Complex. Ohio State getting ready to play Oregon on Saturday. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com along with Stephen Means and Doug Lesmerises. We were just talking to Buckeyes coach Ryan Day, Buckeyes defensive coordinator Kerry Combs, a couple of players, including linebacker Cody Simon, and just trying to get a read from Kerry Combs today on some of the usage that we saw defensively. A lot of guys played, especially a lot of guys at the linebacker position in the season opener against Minnesota, and kind of the impression that I came away from today was they started Tommy Eichenberg because they liked what he brings from a leadership standpoint, the way he gets this team set up defensively, and obviously, though, Cody Simon coming in gets a big sack later. You saw some of his athleticism break through. So the question we're asking today is this, do we think this is the new setup going forward? Is Tommy Eichenberg and Cody Simon the next, what we saw in 2019 from Ohio State's defense, tough Borland, Baird Browning, kind of a two-man setup? Stephen, what do you think of that?
I hope not. I don't like it. Here's the difference between what this is and what Tough Borland and Baird Browning were. Baird Browning was basically a will linebacker that they tried to turn into a Mike linebacker, and then they turned into a Sam linebacker. They moved him all over the place when we all argued maybe he should have just been the will linebacker all along and let that 5-star go be a 5-star. Cody Simon is a Mike linebacker. He came here to play Mike linebacker, while Taraja Mitchell is clearly the Malik Harrison of 2019 and 2020. He's the will linebacker. They don't really have a Sam linebacker anymore. You don't have to turn him into a Mike linebacker. He can already do a lot of that stuff for you to get the team lined up. And also, he can also go on a blitz and get a sack, just like what they needed against Minnesota on Thursday night. So I hope that's not the situation here, because it's not the same style of players where you're talking about Cody Simon and Baird Browning. They're not equal the same way that maybe Tough Borland and Tommy Eichenberg are.
Yeah, but Baird Browning in 2019 wasn't going to play will linebacker ahead of Malik Harrison either, wasn't it? Didn't it make more sense to get him on the field in some way?
If that was, yeah, and we argued that he should have just been on the field and not Tough Borland at all. It shouldn't have been a situation where Tough Borland was first and second down, and then we get into obvious passing situations, and then they go Baird Browning. We argued Baird Browning should have just been the starting Mike linebacker, and that's a situation where you're turning a will linebacker into a Mike linebacker. When you've already got a guy who's made to be a Mike linebacker, that should just be the case on every single down.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I see the point. I think that every team needs to find its best 11 guys if it can get there. If 11 guys clearly separate, that hasn't happened yet. I guess I can see the merit of sharing a spot with two guys if you think they're better situationally. If you think Cody Simon's a guy that you want in there on later downs and not earlier downs. Doug, how do you see it?
That was some heat from a guy who was on Cody Simon in the spring. You're just mad he didn't start. You're mad Cody Simon didn't start.
He's still mad that Baird Browning didn't lead the Big Ten in sacks last season.
There are enough differences. There are some similarities, though. Cody Simon was the guy who was talking about Tommy Eichenberg today and said things that sounded like he was talking about Tough Borland, because he was talking about getting guys lined up and being a great leader and being a champion in the weight room. And it's like, that's what everybody always said about Tough Borland. And then with Tough Borland, it was always like, but what about when the football is snapped? And athletically, Tough was just a step behind, right? I mean, he did all the other things. And again, these coaches played him for 3 years. Tommy is a better athlete, I think, than Tough. Cody is a more natural Mike than Barron, which was always an issue. So I do think we came away initially Thursday night saying, man, they played a bunch of guys defensively. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Actually, then I think in the end, when you look at the snap counts, I think we do have a pretty clear read on what it's going to be. That Taraja Mitchell's going to play Will, and he's going to be the guy. Cody Simon and Tommy Eichenberg are going to share the mic, and that's what they're going to do. And then when they need another true linebacker, it's going to be Dallas Gant. So it's sort of like last year they had 3 real linebackers, and Justin Hilliard would be the 4th linebacker when they needed it. To me, Dallas Gant's going to be that 3rd linebacker when they needed it, kind of like Justin Hilliard was last year. He played a lot against Minnesota because formationally they're doing 13 personnel. Ohio State wanted 3 true linebackers on the field more often. But I think that's probably, Steel Chambers got a little one at the end. I don't know that that's really going to be a thing. It feels like Eichenberg maybe started because it was a run-heavy offense. But I also think we might be in for that split. And as much as part of me agrees with you, Stephen, about man, from our standpoint, we didn't necessarily love that old split, and there are some similarities here. I do think it's a little better from both sides. I think Eichenberg's a little more athletic than Tough. I think Cody's a little more comfortable at Mike than Barron, and the result is this combo might actually feel more comfortable to us than that one did.
Yeah, I guess my point would be everybody wanted a more athletic version of Tough Borland and still maybe getting all those intangibles. That sounds like it could be Tommy Eichenberg. That sounds like sort of what people are describing when they talk about Tommy Eichenberg, that maybe he has some of the athletic upside that people didn't see in Tough Borland. I would also say Kerry Combs today specifically said, when I asked about Tommy Eichenberg, said he was a physical guy for a physical game, something along those lines. It did make it seem like it could be matchup based too, that they saw reasons why Tommy Eichenberg was a guy they wanted to start that game against Minnesota, and it could be a different setup Saturday against Oregon or in the future. Get the text 614-350-3315. We'll be texting directly from the press conferences like this that we're attending. We'll be giving you analysis and updates all week on cleveland.com/Buckeye Talk.